Diversity. Isn't diversity a really nice term to use? It's a very brilliant and interesting name to one of my favorite music channels. Okay, not that kind of diversity. Diversity is a nice sounding term that sounded moral. We're gonna strive for diversity on certain workforces to promote that we're a multicultural workplace with different backgrounds and ethnicities. Well, it sounded nice in theory, but in practice, it's basically arbitrary discrimination towards a particular sex or race, as in racism or sexism. Combat sexism and racism war by being sexist and racist, because that is going to accomplish justice in this entire world. I always think of the workplace the same way I think of YouTube. There are going to be people who work their hard ass off and get ignored. There are people who work very little and they get super stardom. And YouTube is an American company where most popular content creators speak English. And therefore, there are going to be lots of American or European. I'm totally cool with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Has anybody ever talked about how YouTube is very American, very white? Like, most of the people on YouTube are Americans and most of the content in there are English. And therefore, some of the content are going to be made and presented from mostly Western countries. Has anyone ever talked about the ridiculously racist status quo that is YouTube? Thankfully, one boy wants to change that. One boy from a village from bumfuck nowhere is about to go into YouTube and change the status quo. At first, this village boy makes videos with his subpar laptop and crappy ass audio from his crappy ass phone, talking crappy ass English. As he kept on making more and more videos on YouTube, more and more senpais noticed him, and more people started watching his garbage. Baffled, he continued on with his cringy internet memes and not so great sense of humor. He kept on making videos almost daily, getting more and more money and ad revenue while also upgrading his equipment, starting from his crappy ass microphone to even better ones, starting from a really not so great phone into an even better phone that gets broken, so he bought a slightly better phone. From a really crappy laptop to a not so crappy laptop to an entry-level gaming laptop that can play almost literally anything without chugging lots of frame rate. And now, with a laptop and a TV on his side, with a scissor hand on his table and a great microphone in it, he continued to make videos, living to share his garbage opinions and making his garbage videos on the internet to his 20,000 subscribers. Well, shit, almost. So you see, this shit-ass channel make videos from bumfuck nowhere and, well, lots of people subscribe to me for some reason. And the secret to get here is, I make videos and I try to make them good. That's literally it. There's nothing else beyond that. I make videos and I always try to make sure that the videos that I make are good enough for people to watch and enjoy. Now, would I really call this hard work? Well, not really. I would call this consistent work because this, compared to my college, I apply this more consistently than the latter. That's gonna bite me in the ass someday. Anyway, my point is, yes, the environment on YouTube is indeed populated by the West and people from the Western nations. Does that mean that it's difficult for people not from the West to get into YouTube? Absolutely not. If you're an aspiring YouTuber, especially from the West, let the story of this guy from bumfuck nowhere to be an indicator that you don't have to be a filthy Westerner to have your content enjoyed. You just need to be interesting, be enjoyable, two of the things that I'm really not at, be passionate, and work hard, or at least work consistently. I mean, if I can do it, why can't you? Then came this Guardian article talking about the representation of people in the gaming industry. Dreadout is capable of getting into Steam and having people play it and enjoy it. It was made by the people of my country. Steam is allowing people from many different backgrounds and demographics to enter and have their games to be represented. You cannot be more diverse than Steam, especially in the games, and especially since tutorials on making video games are wide available in there for free on YouTube, and internet forums are also available for people to help you on certain coding problems. Getting into gaming is a lot easier than it was in the past, at least in terms of accessing the materials. The hard part is whether or not you're willing to learn all of those materials, and that can be exhausting. So why is this an issue? I don't know. Let's find out. Despite corrective initiatives, there are too few gaming industry opportunities for women and people of color. This needs to change if it is to have a healthy future. Nope. No, it just happens that some women or minorities don't want to work in it. As someone who is in STEM and is into programming, I believe it's pretty damn difficult. Even the men from my class get terrible grades. I believe that women, if they work hard, can excel the men on STEM. Look, I know that hard work isn't the only factor of why or how you get into certain successes, GDC, but it is a factor. You can't be my moronic friend who say, well, Bill Gates dropped out of college, look where he is now. What, do you think he builds Microsoft out of pure fucking luck or something, you lazy jackass? He works his hard ass off to make that company. Yes, you don't need college to be successful. You do need to work hard. Or at least work consistently.
Glance at last year's big releases, and you might think video games have cracked the issue of diversity. Two of 2016's most acclaimed action adventures, Mafia 3 and Watch Dogs 2, both had black male leads, while Mirror's Edge 2, Uncharted 4, and indie game Virginia all featured women of color. This year, we have flagship PlayStation 4 title Horizon Zero Dawn, as well as Gravity Rush 2, Nier Automata, and Tacoma, all showcasing female protagonists. But look beyond the games and into the companies that make them, and you get a very different picture. Representation is still very much a problem.
Why? Why representation? Why is this an issue? How is this an issue? Why couldn't the most qualified person work on a job? Why does this have to be an arbitrary race or gender? Is the solution to this representation going to be making women and minorities to get on a job easier? If a YouTube representative come after me and say, hey, I want to give you 100,000 subscribers, not because of your content or your merits, but because you have a different skin color and we need to be more diverse. What? How about no? I made my shit content back when I was like in 1,000 sub. If I take that offer, that's literally cheating. And this is coming from someone who loves to cheat in single-player games. I wouldn't even take the offer now. I'd rather have people gradually sub to me until I get 100,000 instead of an easy jumping stone like that. Why give me advantage towards someone else just because of my race?
In an age where a whole generation is taking its cultural cues and influences from games, this has vital importance even outside of the industry. Video games now make $90 billion a year worldwide, dwarfing the cinema and movie business. According to figures from industry trade body UKIE, 50% of the UK population plays games, a figure rising to 99% among 8 to 15-year-olds. The growing popularity of games on PC, consoles, smartphones, and tablets has also led to a surge in young people seeking to work on the industry. Over 60 UK universities provide undergraduate and master's degrees in games development. But who are the people guiding this inspirational and pervasive cultural sector?
Irrelevant. I don't really care much about the people involved. I care about the games. I try my hardest to separate the art and the artist. When I talk about Andromeda's racist developer, that's not the one primary reason why I don't want to buy Andromeda. That's one out of a multitude of reasons. More details in my other video. Oh, and Styx Shards of Darkness and Nier Automata are coming, and there are two games that I will definitely buy. Now that you mentioned the revenue that video games have made, let me ask you another question. What drives the revenue? The people who are making video games might not be diverse, but you know who definitely are? The people who buy them. People play different video games through different parts of the world, and they come from different backgrounds and ethnicities. The one thing that unites us all, the one thing that unites you, my viewers, from this guy from bumfuck nowhere, is the love of video games. If I don't have this love, if I don't have this passion, then I wouldn't be here talking with you. This is the same passion that I have towards video games. There are the same passion that many others have about video games, no matter which gender or ethnicity or race they are. Again, why is this so important to you? Have you considered people's passion and work? You're well aware that the women and minorities who get work in the gaming industry actually have to work hard to get it, the same way others do.
Put it this way, if you live in the West and you work in games, you're probably white, straight, male, and middle class. The latest figures from the game industry trade body TIGA shows that just 40% of people working in the UK games industry are women. The ratio is more or less the same in the US.
Yes, and that also shows the percentage of people's interest towards that workforce. Also, the consumers are the products of said workforce, and also the race who dominates the West, which is white. Is it discrimination? Well, prove it then. Because discrimination is illegal. And it seems like what you're trying to do here is doing it except on another race or another gender. I disagree with that.
Looking at the most recent figures, the picture is pretty depressing when considering ethnic diversity. A creative skill set reporting shows that BAME, Black, Asian, and Minority Ethnic Industry representation stood at 4% in 2015, down from 4.7% the previous year. This is lower than the UK average of 10% and significantly lower than the London average of 40%, 2011 census data. Considering that 37% of the UK industry is located in London, this highlights the level of underrepresentation from ethnic minority groups.
Again, does anybody in those ethnicities have an interest in these specific fields? What you need to do here is to educate more and more people and have them more interested in gaming. How? You make better video games. You make better video games so that people are more passionate and enthusiastic on getting inside. When you make better video games, you're gonna have more and more people to go, I wish I could make video games like this. That's what we need. We need ambition. We need passion. And it can only be built by making good and inspiring video games.
There are three basic interclocking problems here. First, the current games industry represents a vicious cycle of underrepresentation that is familiar across the whole of tech. The less that young women and people of color see themselves represented in the sector, the less they're likely to apply for the jobs.
No. The less interesting the job is, the less likely they're gonna apply for the job. Nobody cares if gaming is a straight white male space. If you're passionate about it and you want to work hard to get it, you will get it. YouTube, especially the gaming channels on YouTube, is also a place mostly populated by white people because they're from the West, and a place mostly populated by men because they are more interested in video games than women. But I don't give a fuck. I keep on making videos and I try to make them good. Please don't tell me that your solution is the equivalent to arbitrarily boost people's sub counts just because they're in a different gender or race.
Society doesn't see technical women enough, so it is assumed that they don't exist and technology isn't something women do, says Annie Marie.
Stop right there. Stop right there. Yes, technology is not something that women are fond of because it's a very difficult thing to do. There are a few of those that are interested in technology. There are a few women that are fond of technology. There are those that want to learn about technology, but it's not enough to form a trend.
These attitudes and social norms permeate decisions made at all levels, so women aren't hired, promoted, or given positions of responsibility, and the cycle continues.
Or they're just not interested at all. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not being interested in science. You cannot, for the love of God, just force women into it. They have agency and free will too. If they're not passionate about it, let the men do it. And here's the thing, guys. I might pull off the "why aren't you putting women in sewage workers" argument, but then they would also pull, yeah, but those are difficult tasks and they're very dirty and icky. Exactly. Same goes to STEM. Not the dirty and icky part, but the frustration is enough to make you smell bad. Anybody on STEM can confirm this to me. I am from STEM, and STEM is fucking hard, especially if you don't work hard enough for it. My calculus grades would make even the most tolerable parents beat me with a belt. What is necessary to excel in STEM is a lot of hard work, and I have no doubts that a woman or another minority can beat me in STEM if they work hard enough. I have no doubt that a chick from a Papuan tribe can beat me to STEM if she works hard enough on that subject. I am in STEM, and I suck because, frankly, I don't really work hard into it. On the other hand, I am on YouTube, and I put a significant amount of work, obviously, and here I am. So hard work, or at least consistent work, still play in a significant factor in terms of your success. Don't ignore this, for the love of God.
There's also a problem of culture. The mainstream industry has spent years pandering to a hardcore demographic of young men, but when aspects of that audience indulge in abusive and threatening behavior online via social media and game forums, there's very little comeback from the major publishers. Gamergate is an example of the shortcomings, says Damilola.
Stop. Wow. You're being completely dishonest. Gamergate is an example of why women don't go into STEM. Gamergate. A movement to fight for journalistic ethics on video game industry. You call that a movement to drive women out of gaming. Of course you do. This is a Guardian article, and Guardian is not exactly the best place to get to this, but you're not working for the greater good. You're only doing it on paper. In practice, you're removing people's agency and not letting things happen naturally. The requirements for going to STEM or gaming development is something that requires a lot of hard work, which just so happens to be something that women in general don't want to do, and they're not interested by it. Even some men who are already in STEM are not very enthusiastic by it. Seriously, have you guys ever considered how hard going to STEM is? Have you ever considered that the reason why women don't go into STEM and go into other subjects is not because of discrimination, but the actual STEM subjects are hard to learn and women refuse to work on that high road, but men do? Even men are having difficult time on STEM. You want more women to also be more stressed and have difficult time on STEM?
Finally, there's a problem with institutional discrimination and abuse. In 2015, the Gender Balanced Workforce Survey, conducted by the Next Gen Skills Academy, surveyed around 40% of women working in games in the UK and found that 45% felt that their gender was a limiting factor in their career progression, while 33% said they'd experienced direct harassment or bullying because of their gender.
Well, yes, their gender is a limiting factor. Women in general don't want to work as hard as men and don't choose jobs that are hardworking as men. For those who experience direct harassment or bullying because of their gender, I still don't know what defines as harassment or bullying because harassment can be conflated to basic criticisms.
So how can things change? A key element is going to be challenging the dominant culture by attracting more young women and people of color into the industry. But that's easier said than done. Industry insiders argue that they just don't have the candidates coming to at the recruitment stage due to a lack of women studying computer science or other tech subjects at graduate level.
Yes, because women aren't interested in learning STEM. There are some who do, but as you can see, there aren't a lot. Oh, and by the way, here's an interesting study. Study shows that it's not gender inequality that puts women off of STEM. It's apparently caused by math anxiety, which means that they're scared of math. I think that's a very non-gender specific trait. Math scares me too, but it scares girls more, according to the study. So there you have it. There's one explanation out of many. I haven't even gone into the biological differences between men and women and how they think. Let's just skip to the end paragraph and see what their conclusions are.
Research consistently shows that diverse workforces are more innovative. Different backgrounds produce different ideas, approaches, and solutions. In an industry where innovation is highly prized and sought after, reaching out beyond the current demographics seems like an absolute necessity. It's not about being seen to do the right thing. It's about investing in the future of video games. So what you're claiming here is that you're not doing this for the greater good, but this is done for the future of gaming.
No. You're not concerned about the future of gaming when you decided that race is the most important factor instead of talents or skill or hard work or innovative ideas in the gaming industry. You're not concerned about the future of gaming when you don't think for a second that the reason why a workplace like the gaming industry is homogenous is because you're living in a country where most people are white and you're living in a universe where most gamers are men. And you're also living in a universe where the gender who would sacrifice more, risk more, and definitely go out into the fields more would be men. The only reason that I can interpret this is so that you don't look racist. To all of you aspiring game developers, or let's just go into a small example, YouTubers out there, hard work or consistent work, passion, and quality, they're still factors. Don't ignore them just because a couple of YouTubers or a couple of game developers hack their way through it. There are those that can get away with not having any source of those. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not a factor anymore. They still are. There are still factors on getting into gaming industry. There are still factors of success. And to that, I am glad. I am glad that those are still factors on determining people's success. If you think that it isn't, well, I welcome you to try your luck. Before we end this video, huge thanks to Mike Henry for the pledge on Patreon. You are fantastic. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead, click the like button, and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me on Patreon. And thanks for watching.